Hey, seventh grade. So our learning target for today is I can simplify expressions using the distributive property. We're going to be on page 6. Okay, so we're going to talk about the distributive property. According to the order of operations, we should always do parentheses first. So if we look at this parenthesis b plus c, what happens sometimes to us is that we are unable to simplify the parenthesis due to unlike terms. Perhaps there's a variable on the inside. We can't do anything. We can't combine it. The tricky part about this is that we are stuck then. We can't move on to exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction until we've completed the parenthesis. So there's this property that allows us to move on in the order of operations, to kill the parenthesis, get rid of the parenthesis, using something called the distributive property. How it works is when you have a parenthesis that cannot be simplified, so it's kind of stuck, b plus c, there's perhaps a variable on the inside, you take the number on the outside and you multiply it to each term on the inside. Multiplication is happening here. It has to go in 2 times, so we have a times b. We keep the sign in the middle, and then we have a times c. And so that's called the distributive property. That allows us to move past the parenthesis, move on to exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, and proceed through our order of operations. It works the same for subtraction, except in subtraction we make sure that we stop, chop, chop. And again, we're in a situation, the reason why we would be doing this is we're in a situation where we cannot simplify the inside of the parenthesis. Because if we were able to, then we would just do our order of operations like we're used to doing. But in order for us to move past parenthesis, we have to get rid of the parenthesis. So we would have to use the distributive property to kill the parenthesis. So we're going to take the number on the outside and multiply it to the first term called a times b, multiplication. I just chopped it to addition. And then I take the number a on the outside and multiply it to the second term, a times negative c. Now keep in mind that sometimes that these are variables involved in this process. They're not always numbers. So here's kind of the steps. The first thing that we're going to always do is we're going to stop, chop, chop. If it's a subtraction problem, we stop, chop, chop. If it's an addition problem, then we just move on. After we stop, chop, chop, then we will combine like terms. Then we're going to use the distributive property, which means we multiply the number on the outside of the parenthesis to each term on the inside of the parenthesis. Everybody should be writing. Multiply number on the outside of the parenthesis to each term on the inside. And the last step would be to combine like terms if we have any. Okay, guys, so those are our 3 steps for today's work. If I'm going too fast, I want to pause that video to get those notes down. Otherwise, we're going to move on. So we're going to take a look at this first problem. First step says to stop, chop, chop if necessary. We wouldn't need to stop, chop, chop in this problem because it's already addition, so we're going to move on. And it says multiply the number on the outside of the parenthesis to each term on the inside. So let's start by looking at what we have going on here. On the underside of the parenthesis, we have x plus 6. Now we want to combine those if we could. The problem is we can't combine an x and a 6. They're unlike terms, no fruit salad. So now we're stuck and we're trying to say, well, how do I get past this parenthesis in the order of operations before I move on? The only way to kill the parenthesis is to use the distributive property. So first of all, let's recognize there's a lonely variable x there. So there's a 1 in front of it. 1 is married to x. So we're going to kick in that distributive property, which says multiply the number on the outside to each term on the inside. So we have 3 times 1 is 3. Reattach the x. The sign in the middle is add. And now we send it in twice. We always send it in twice. Take the 3 and multiply it to the 6 now. It goes in 2 times, always 2 times. 3 times 6 is 18. So we take a look at that. We have 3x plus 18. Now those are unlike terms because there's an x on the 3, but there is not an x on the 18. So we are done. 3x plus 18 is our answer there. Unlike terms, done. We cannot combine those. All right, so we killed the parenthesis using the distributive property. Problem number 2 then. So I'm going to go ahead and look at this problem. Inside the parenthesis, we have 5 minus 4x. Now, we should be able to say, well, the problem with this is that we cannot simplify that because there's a variable involved there and we are done. So, but how do I move past the order of operations? I need to get past this parenthesis. The only way to kill the parenthesis is use the distributive property. I stop, chop, chop. And now I take the number on the outside 2 and I have to distribute it 2 times. It goes in twice through multiplication. So 2 times 5 is 10. Drag that sign down. If I haven't used it, drag it down. And then 2 times -4, triangle problem. We have a positive on that 2. We have a negative on that 4, gives me -8. Reattach the variable x, we have 10 plus -8x. 10 plus -8x. Next question over here. I said no, we stop, chop, chop on the inside. And then we have this dilemma on the outside as well. The dilemma on the outside is there's this negative, and it's really like a -1. Everybody put a -1 on the outside, so you know that that's a -1. So we have, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, going on. Remember, we're trying to get rid of the parenthesis first. Dilemma is, inside the parenthesis, we cannot combine those. So the way to kill the parenthesis is use the distributive property. It has to go in 2 times. Multiply once, multiply twice. Here we go, -1 times 3, triangle problem there. That's a -3. Drag that x down. Drag that sign out down. -1 times 7. I'm sorry, -1 times -7. -1 times -7 is a +7. Our answer is -3x plus 7. We have a variable on the x. We have a number on the 7, and we are done. Okay, guys. So that's the distributive property. That's how we kill parentheses. So let's try it 2 times down here. Let's go ahead and give this a shot. So we stop, chop, chop, and I said no. Now, we're trying to kill that parenthesis. Let's go ahead and highlight it. We're trying to get rid of all this stuff on the inside. The problem is those are unlike terms. The only way to kill the parentheses is use the distributive property. We take the number on the outside. It goes in 2 times. 1, 2. Multiplication. -8 times -2. Triangle problem. Negative on 8. Negative on 2 is +16. Sign in the middle is plus. We distribute. -8 times -5. Negative on 8. Negative on 5 is +40. Reattach the variable x. We are done. 16 plus 40x. Go ahead and look on that. There is not a 16 on the x, or there's not an x on that 16. Unlike terms, we cannot combine those. No fruit salad. Any order is fine. Next problem. You have a lonely number out here. This is a -1. Go ahead and drop that 1 in there so you know that you have a -1 on the outside. And then I said no on the inside. We stop, chop, chop that. Okay, group, here we go. We're trying to kill that parenthesis now. As we kill the parenthesis, it has to go in twice. Once, twice. We multiply. -1 times 9 is -9. Drag that variable x down. Keep the sign. Distribute again. -1 times -4 is +4. We end up with -9x plus 4. Unlike terms. Unlike terms. If I'm going too fast, go ahead and pause that video. This is kind of a long lesson today, guys. Distributive property. All right, let's clean this next problem up and do everything we know we can do. There's a lonely variable there, so there's a 1 in front. 1x is the term. I said no. I stop, chop, chop here. Now check this out. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, this says. We have to do the parenthesis first. Notice that that plus -1 is actually addition, and that's at the end of the order of operations. So this part right here is just going to have to wait. It's the idea of the associative property. It is not in our group. It is not in the parenthesis. You're not in our group. You're going to just have to wait. So just going to wait on that. When we go to distribute, we cannot distribute to that -1 because it's not in the group. Distribute to kill. 1, 2. 5 times 1 is 5. Drag that x down. Drag that add sign down. 5 times 3 is 15. We just killed that parenthesis. Okay, now, if this guy's outside of the group, plus -1. If I haven't used it, drag it down. Combine like terms. So all of the x's get put together. Well, this is our only x. We get 5x. Plus, we have $15 in the bank. We take 1 out is 14. We have 5x plus 14. Those are unlike terms, so you cannot combine those, guys. If I'm going too fast, go ahead and pause that video. All right, crew, let's hang in there. It's going to be kind of a long lesson today. This is called the distributive property. We're just trying to get rid of parentheses when there's a variable on the inside. All right, I stopped, chop, chop. I said no. I said no. All right, so let's check this out. We have to kill this parenthesis first. Dilemma is we would have to use the distributive property because we can't combine like terms on the inside. And this 9 plus in the order of operations, if we write down the order of operations, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That 9 plus is actually happening way down here. That 9 plus is not in any group. It's going to have to wait. It's not attached to a parenthesis. That's going to have to wait. We're going to kill the distributive property first. This is a -2 there, so we distribute. Send that in once, send that in twice. So we have -2 times 3 is -6 plus. Distribute, -2 times -3 is +6. Triangle problem. Think about that. -2, -3 is a +6, and there's an x there. So that becomes -6 plus -6, or -6 plus +6x. Now this was on the outside. It was not part of our group, associative property. If I haven't used it, I drag it down. Now I bring that back in the game. Combining like terms. $9 in the bank, and I'm trying to take 6 out. Can I take 6 out of a bank that has 9 in it? Yes. That leaves me with $3. If I haven't used it, I drag it down. We get 3 plus 6x, unlike terms. Okay, crew, meet me on the top of the next page. Page 7. We'll take our time on this page. We're going to have 6 problems to do in a summary, so this is going to take us some more time today. All right, let's start with this problem. First of all, I see a lonely X, so let's go ahead and take care of that. I'll say no. I stop, chop, chop that outside. Keep in mind that this is not part of any group, so it's just going to have to wait. Not part of the parenthesis, not part of the associative property, not part of our group. To kill the parenthesis, now we have to send it in twice. Once, twice. This is on the outside. I get -4 times 1 is -4. Bring that variable x down. Sign in the middle is plus. -4 times +4 is -16. If I haven't used it, I drag it down. So we get plus -3x. Combine like terms then. We have an x here. We have an x there. All of those x's go together. So my x bin. I have -4x's and -3x's and -7x's. If I haven't used it, I drag that down. Now, these are unlike terms because -7 has an x on it, -16 does not. Answer is -7x plus -16. Done. Example number 2. I stop, chop, chop. I said no. I said no. I said no. 3 stop, chops in there. I want you to take a look at that problem number 2. There's probably some issues there. You should be noticing that there's an error. Or not an error, but something that concerns you. And it's this lonely negative outside of that parenthesis. You need to identify that that really is like a -1 on the outside of that parenthesis. So what I want you to start thinking about is that we're going to treat this as 2 separate problems. So we have this first problem here. It's not really 2 separate problems, but I want your brain to think that way. So we're going to go ahead and kill the parenthesis on that first one. Problem number 1, giant add sign in the middle, and then problem number 2, we're going to kill the parenthesis. So everybody should be in their brain thinking, we have 2 separate problems with a giant add sign in the middle. Okay, let's go ahead and use that distributive property. We're going to go ahead and kill that parenthesis. We're going to distribute 1 time, 2 times right here. So we're going to go 7 times 2 is 14. Drag that variable x down. Sign in the middle is add. Take that 7 and multiply to -4. 7 times -4 is, triangle problem, -28. I just killed that first parenthesis, so we're going to say problem number 1 done. It's not really 2 separate problems, but I want your brain to think that way. Giant add sign in the middle. Working on problem number 2 now. We're going to send it in twice. Once, twice, multiplication. -1 times 10 is -10, triangle problem. Sign in the middle is add. Triangle problem coming in here. -1 times -3, -1, -3 is +3. Drag that x down. We've now killed both parentheses, giant add sign in the middle, combine like terms. So our like terms are variable x, grab 14, variable x, grab 3. So we end up with 17 x's, plus, this is my number bin now coming up here. I pay for 28 and I pay 10. I pay 38. Answer is 17x plus -38. Okay, those are unlike terms. We can't combine those because 17 has an x in it and -38 does not. So we are done. No fruit salad. Great job today. It's going to be kind of a long lesson, guys. Keep hanging in there. If this is too fast, go ahead and pause and rewatch. Make sure you understand the distributive property. This problem here is really has a lot going on. As I scan from left to right, one thing that I notice is, first of all, this is not attached to any parenthesis at all. So that is not part of our group at all. So we're going to have to say that you're going to have to wait because the order of operations says that the addition is way down here. I do have some things going on though. So I have a 1 on the outside of this parenthesis. I stop, chop, chop. I have a 1 on the outside of that parenthesis and I stop, chop, chop. Go ahead and catch up there. So I have 2 stop, chop, chops and I have 2 1s on the outside of the parenthesis. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and deal with that parenthesis work first. I'm going to distribute, so it's going to go in 2 times, once, twice. There's my first problem. I want you to think of it that you have problem number 1 here, problem number 2 here. So as it goes in, 1 times 14 is 14. Drag x down, drag sign down. 1 times negative 5 is negative 5. Go ahead and we killed that first parenthesis. We have 14x plus negative 5. Plus, giant plus sign in the middle. Distribute, it goes in twice, once, twice. 1 times 17 is 17, giant sign in the middle. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. Reattach the x. I just killed the other parentheses. Second problem is done. Now, if I haven't used it, I drag it down. So we're bringing 6x plus back in the game. It was not part of any group. It was not part of any parenthesis. All right, so we're going to go ahead and combine like terms here. So our variables are x, x with signs in front. Another x here, x with a negative 3 in front. So the variable terms that we have are x's. Think about that. We have $6 in the bank, $14 in the bank, which means that we have $20 in the bank, 20 x's. And we're going to take away, not sure what's going on here, sorry guys. And we're going to take away 3 of them. Leaves me with 17 x's. So we had 20, take away the 3 at the end there is 17 x's plus. These are going to be my numbers now. In my number bin, I have $17 in the bank, and I'm going to try to take these 5 out. Can I take 5 out of a bank that has 17 in it? Yes. What's left is $12. So I have 17x plus 12. Unlike terms, there's an x on the 17. We do not have one on the 12. Answer is 17x plus 12. Okay, guys. Let's hang in there, 7th grade. Come on, number 4. Number 4 has a whole bunch of stuff going on. I see negatives and subtractions everywhere. Let's dive through this. First of all, we have a negative 1 on the outside. Go ahead and identify that as a negative 1. I'll say no, and I'm going to chop on the inside of that parenthesis. And I'm going to identify that that is also a negative 1 there. I'll say no, and I'm going to chop here. And I'm going to also chop at the very end. Now, I want you to recognize at the very end, that's not attached to anything. That's not in any group, so that's just going to have to wait because addition comes at the end of the order of operations. So our job is to kill the parentheses first. Order of operations says so. Here's the first parenthesis. We kill it because there's a variable on the inside. It's using the distributive property. Here's our second problem. That number on the end is going to have to wait. It's not part of any group associative property. All right. Here we go. Let's kill it. Send it in once, twice, multiplication. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. Sign in the middle is add. Send it again. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. Variable is x. You have negative 2 plus 1x. I'm sorry, negative 2 plus 1x. I think that's what I said. Giant add sign in the middle. We're going to send it in twice. Once, twice. We have negative 18 plus negative 24x. Negative 18 plus negative 24x. I just killed the second parenthesis. Now, if I haven't used it, I drag it down. So we have plus negative 12 on the end, plus negative 12. Now, we're going to combine like terms. The variable is x. We have 1x and negative 24x. So those are our x's. We have $1 in the bank, and we're trying to take 24 out. 1x and negative 24. So I have 1 in the bank trying to take 24 out. I can't. I can take 23 out. So I'm left with, I can take 1 out. But I still owe 23. Take a look at that. So I had 1 in the bank. I'm trying to take 24 out. I can't. I can take 1 out, but I still owe 23. Now combining the numbers in the number bin, we have negative 2, negative 18, and negative 12, which ends up being negative 32. Those are the numbers. These are unlike terms because negative 23 has an x in it. Negative 32 does not, so we are done. All right, hang in there, guys. I know we're at the 20-minute mark. It's been kind of a long lesson, but let's stick with this. You have 2 left in a summary. Let's do it. All right, this next problem here, and again, if I'm going too fast, you might have to pause. Let's take a look at this. We have a 1 on the outside. We have a lonely x here. A stop, chop, chop, I said no. I have a lonely one here, so that's actually a negative one when I chop that. Keep going. Check out this x on the inside. It's lonely as well. There's a 1 there. I said no. And I say no again. Lots of chopping going on in this problem. Lots of lonely x's or 2 lonely x's. All right, so I really end up having this situation where this is not part of any parenthesis. It's on its own. It's not part of any group, so it's going to have to wait. Okay. We're going to use the distributive property. We have 2 problems to solve, essentially. That's kind of what our brain is thinking. We're going to kill that first parenthesis. We need to kill that second parenthesis with a giant add sign in the middle. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and send it once, twice. We get 1 times 1 is 1. Drag x down. Drag sign down. 1 times 2 is 2. I just killed that first parenthesis. Giant add sign in the middle. Negative 1 times positive 1 is negative 1. Drag that x down. Drag that add sign down. Negative 1 times negative 2 is positive 2. Now, if I haven't used it, I drag it down. Variables are x, so we have x's here with a 1 in front, x here with a negative 1 in front, x here with a negative 12 in front. Those are all my x's combining like terms. All those x's go together. So I have $1, I spend it. Those are gone, leaving me with just a negative 12x left then. Then looking at my number bin, I have 2 plus 2, which gives me a 4 there. So we have negative 12x plus 4. Negative 12x plus 4, unlike terms, so we are done. Okay, crew, so let's keep going here. So I have a lonely variable x here. No chopping. We're in good shape there. We don't have anything left on its own. So we're going to go ahead and say a problem number 1 here to kill that first parenthesis. Problem number 2 to kill that second parenthesis. All right, here we go. So I'm going to distribute to kill that first parenthesis. Negative, it goes in twice. Remember, we multiply it once, twice. Negative 30, drag that sign down. Negative 6 times positive 1 is negative 6. Drag that sign down, x. Drag that variable down, x. Giant plus sign in the middle, working on problem number 2 now. 2 times 7 is 14. Drag that x down. Giant add sign in the middle. Take that 2 and multiply it to 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Combine like terms. Variables are x's. Let's combine these first. Boom, boom. Those are all my x's with all those signs in front. So we have all those x's going together in the x bin. So I have $14 in the bank, and I'm trying to take 6 out of the bank. Can I take 6 out of a bank that has 14 in it? Yes. Is there any money left? Yes. $8, you should be saying. Positive 8, x. Plus, here's my number bin. I have $2 in the bank, and I'm trying to take 30 out. Well, I can't take 30 out of a bank that only has 2 in it. I can take 2 out, which leaves me with negative 28. So my answer should be 8x plus negative 28. Unlike terms, so we are done. For our summaries today, be really careful about watching signs. Of course, you need to do stop, chop, chop first. Hang in there, guys. I know it's been a long lesson. And then keep in mind that it has to go in twice when we're killing a parenthesis. So we multiply once, twice. It goes in twice. So it becomes A times whatever number B plus A times whatever number C. Okay, so that is our lesson for today. Your homework is to do page 8 and page 9 due tomorrow. Distributive property. It's probably going to take you some time. So take your time and really do a good job on that. Distributive property work. Okay, group. So again, page 8 and 9 due tomorrow. Have a great night.